I, female, 21, think my sister, female, 19, might be pretending to be me in text to my boyfriend, male, 22. So my little sister Courtney and I have always had this complicated relationship growing up. We're only 2 years apart, but sometimes it feels like we're from different planets, you know? Our parents, especially our mom, have always expected both of us to be these perfect daughters, good grades, extracurriculars, the whole package. But I was always the more studious one who actually liked school and followed the rules, while Courtney was more rebellious. Like she'd skip class to hang out with friends and got grounded a lot for missing curfew and stuff. Despite all that, though, we were actually pretty close. We shared clothes, well, she took mine without asking like 90% of the time, lol, and told each other secrets and all that sister stuff. We had our fights, obviously, but usually made up pretty quick. Anyway, I met my boyfriend Caleb last year in this literature class I was taking. It was just to fill my humanities requirement because I'm actually a business major. He sat next to me on the first day, and we got paired for this group project about Hemingway or whatever. We've been together for like a year and a half now, and he's honestly my first real serious boyfriend. So last fall, Courtney started at the same university as me. My mom was constantly calling to make sure I was looking out for your little sister and including her and showing her around. I was like, fine, whatever, and tried to include her in stuff with my friends. Since I have a car on campus and she doesn't, I drive her around a lot. We had this whole Sunday afternoon grocery shopping routine and everything. During midterms last semester, I got super busy with all my projects. I'm hoping to get into marketing after I graduate, so I take all my business classes really seriously. I was practically living in the library until closing every night. I felt bad that I couldn't hang out with Courtney as much, so I'd sometimes ask Caleb to give her rides or check in on her. I honestly felt kind of guilty about not spending enough time with Caleb during this period too. Then about 2 months ago, Courtney showed up at my apartment looking all serious, which is not like her at all. She's usually super bubbly and joking around. But she asked if we could talk privately, and I immediately thought something happened with our parents. So we went to my bedroom, and she sat on my bed and kept picking at this loose thread on my comforter, which was driving me crazy, but I didn't say anything. I was like, "What's wrong?" And she took this deep breath and said she needed to tell me something. And then she just admitted she had feelings for Caleb. Like feelings. I couldn't believe it. I tried to stay calm because I didn't want to overreact. My mom always says I can be too emotional about things. Courtney started talking really fast, saying stuff like she would never act on these feelings and that our sisterhood was more important than any guy. I asked her how long she'd felt this way, and she said it had been developing over the past few weeks when they were hanging out while I was studying. I honestly didn't know what to think. I was trying to process this weird mix of feeling betrayed, but also concerned for her, and trying not to freak out. I think I just kind of sat there for a while, not saying much. She promised again that she would never do anything to hurt me, and that she just wanted to be honest about her feelings. I thanked her for telling me, which looking back was such a weird response, but I didn't know what else to say. I've always been good at reading people, at least I think I am, so I decided to trust her. I mean, she's my sister. We've always told each other everything, and it's not like she can control who she develops feelings for, right? But then, things started getting weird. Caleb would mention conversations we supposedly had that I had no memory of, or he'd reference plans I didn't remember making. Sometimes he'd seem hurt by things I supposedly texted him, but I had no idea what he was talking about. At first I thought maybe I was just forgetting stuff because I was stressed about projects and midterms and everything. I mean, I've definitely been forgetful before when I'm stressed. One time I showed up to a final on the wrong day, lol. But things kept getting weirder and weirder. Then last night, Caleb mentioned being upset that I had supposedly texted him saying I needed space and was thinking about seeing other people. I was completely confused because I would never say something like that. I'm literally obsessed with this guy. I asked to see these messages and he showed me his phone. As I scrolled through our conversation, I saw dozens of texts that looked like they were from me, but I never wrote them. They were all things I would never say, talking about how I was feeling suffocated in our relationship and needed to explore my option. There was even a message about how I thought this guy Ben in my marketing class was cute. I mean, he's not bad looking, but I've literally never thought about him that way. I'm starting to suspect something really disturbing is happening here. I haven't confronted Courtney yet because I'm not 100% sure it's her, but who else would it be? I need advice before I do anything because I feel like I'm going crazy. Is there a way someone could be sending texts from my phone without me knowing? Or is my sister actually this manipulative? Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, yes, Caleb and I have the same phone model, both iPhone 11, but different colors. And no, I don't think Caleb is making this up because he seemed genuinely confused and hurt by the messages. He's not the type to play mind games. Edit 2. To those asking if I've checked my sent messages, yes, I've checked my phone and there's nothing there. That's what's so weird. The messages only appear on his phone as if they're from me. Edit 3. No, Courtney doesn't have my phone password. At least I don't think she does. But she's watched me unlock my phone a million times, so maybe she figured it out. Or maybe this is something else entirely. That's why I'm freaking out. Now for the first update. First of all, thanks everyone for all the comments and advice on my last post. I literally wasn't expecting so many people to respond. Things have been wild since I posted, and I've been trying to figure out what the hell is going on before updating. Sorry this took a few days. I wanted to have actual answers instead of just more questions. So after reading all your comments, seriously, there were so many, Caleb and I decided to really investigate this whole texting situation. We spent 3 hours going through both our phones side by side, comparing message timestamps and everything, and we finally figured it out. The messages weren't coming from my phone at all. They were being sent from Caleb's phone. Someone was using his actual phone to text himself pretending to be me. I know that sounds completely insane, but it's true. Once we realized this, we started looking for patterns. And sure enough, all the weird messages were sent during very specific times, during Caleb's baseball practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Anyway, during practice, Caleb always leaves his phone in his gym bag on the bleachers because he doesn't want it getting damaged. And his password is literally just his childhood dog's name and the year he got him, Rex 2008. I've told him a million times it's not secure, but he's like, who would want to hack my phone anyway? So we came up with a plan to catch whoever was doing this. On Thursday, Caleb told everyone he was going to practice like normal, but instead he parked his car where he could see the bleachers and watched his bag through binoculars. And guess who showed up and went straight for his bag? Courtney, my freaking sister. I honestly felt sick when he called and told me. I got this weird dizzy feeling even though I had kind of suspected it was her all along. But having it confirmed was just, ugh. So the next day, we decided to confront her together. We found her in the campus cafeteria having lunch with some friends. We asked if we could talk to her privately, but she said whatever we had to say could be said right there. I tried to stay calm and just straight up asked her if she'd been using Caleb's phone to send messages. She immediately got all defensive. But then Caleb mentioned that he literally saw her take his phone during practice yesterday. She tried to claim that her phone had died and she just needed to make an emergency call. I asked her why she was sending texts to Caleb pretending to be me. Her face went completely red with embarrassment. Then she started crying, not just a few tears, but sobbing in the middle of the cafeteria. People at other tables were staring at us, and it was super awkward. I felt bad, but also you caused this whole situation. She finally admitted she'd been doing this for weeks, said she just wanted to show Caleb how I wasn't right for him or whatever. Caleb told her what she did was really disturbing and unacceptable. She kept begging us not to tell our parents. She said stuff like, I just got carried away and I didn't think it would go this far. I think she just got caught up in her crush and didn't realize how serious what she was doing actually was. And by the way, for the people who commented saying my sister might have deeper issues than just a crush, I think you might be right. This is way beyond normal sibling stuff. I decided to give her one chance to make things right. I told her we wouldn't tell our parents if she promised to 1, stop all contact with Caleb completely, and 2, go to counseling through the university's mental health services. She agreed and seemed genuinely sorry, so I even helped her make the first appointment. I know, I'm too nice sometimes, but she is my sister, and I've always looked out for her. I really thought that would be the end of it. I really did. But then about a week later, Caleb showed me his phone again. Courtney had been texting him these long emotional messages about how much she cared about him and how they had this special connection and how I was too controlling and didn't appreciate him enough. One of these messages actually came through while we were having dinner with his parents. Caleb's phone buzzed, and when he checked it, his face got all weird. He showed me under the table, and I got so upset that his parents definitely noticed something was wrong. It was super embarrassing having to make up some excuse about school stress. So the next day, I went to Courtney's dorm to confront her again. I could hear music playing inside when I knocked. Her roommate Zoe let me in, and then mumbled something about needing to study in the lounge and practically ran out. I'm pretty sure she knows something is up between me and Courtney. I showed Courtney the screenshots of her messages to Caleb, and she just rolled her eyes, like this was all some big joke to her. She basically told me that what she texts Caleb is between them and none of my business. I reminded her that he's my boyfriend. I reminded her that she promised to stop contacting him, and she laughed. She told me I can't control who Caleb talks to. When I asked why she was betraying my trust again, she said I was too boring for him, and that's why he was interested in talking to her. I started crying because who says that to their sister? She just looked at me and told me I was being dramatic and that it was just a guy making some sarcastic comment about sisters before misters. I told her I was seriously going to tell our parents if this didn't stop, and she just shrugged and said they'd think I was just being jealous and petty. The worst part is she started telling our mutual friends that I'm being psycho and possessive over Caleb, like she's trying to make me look like the crazy one. I've gotten texts from like 3 different friends asking if everything is okay. At least they seem to be checking with me instead of just believing her, but still. This whole thing is taking such a toll on my relationship with Caleb too. He's being super supportive, but we can't even have a normal date anymore without discussing the Courtney situation. Last weekend we were supposed to go see that new Marvel movie, and we ended up spending the first hour in the car just talking about what to do about my sister. I've always been good at handling family problems, but this is just, I don't know, it's too much. I feel like I can't focus on school or anything else because I'm constantly worried about what she's going to do next. I'm seriously considering telling my parents everything. The thing is, they've always financially supported both of us through college with this understanding that we'll be responsible. They pay our tuition, housing, and give us each a monthly allowance for food and stuff. If they found out what Courtney's been doing, I'm not sure they'd keep supporting her the same way. But I've tried everything else. I've talked to her directly, twice. I've offered to help her get counseling. I've given her chances to fix this. What else am I supposed to do? I hate the idea of messing with her college situation, but I'm at my breaking point here. Edit. To answer everyone asking if Caleb changed his password, yes! That was literally the first thing we did after catching Courtney. He now has a completely random password and Face ID. Edit 2. Someone asked how Courtney knew when Caleb had practice. She knew because I used to talk about his schedule all the time. I never thought she was, memorizing it to use against me. Edit 3. For those suggesting I might be overreacting, would you be calm if someone was impersonating you to your partner and trying to sabotage your relationship? And not just anyone, but your own sister who you trusted. Now for the second update. So, it's been about a month since my last update. Sorry for taking so long to post again, but honestly, things have been a complete disaster, and I needed time to process everything before I could even write it all down. First, thanks to everyone who commented on my last post. I read literally every single comment, even though I couldn't respond to all of them. And your advice really helped me figure out what to do. A lot of you said this was too serious for Reddit, and you were totally right, but I still appreciate all the support. Anyway, where do I even start? So after my last post, things with Courtney actually got worse. I really thought after we confronted her the second time and I threatened to tell our parents that she would stop. But nope, she just kept going like she couldn't stop herself. So about a week after my last update, Caleb showed me more fake messages. This time I, meaning Courtney pretending to be me, had apparently texted him saying our relationship was too serious and that I wanted to explore other options before settling down. The messages even specifically mentioned this guy Ben from my marketing class, saying I thought he was cute and wanted to see where things could go with him. And yeah, there actually is a Ben in my marketing class who's asked me to study together a few times, which I mentioned to Courtney during one of our coffee chats a while back. So she was using real details from my life, which is just, so creepy. I was just done at this point, like completely done. I couldn't believe she was still doing this after everything. But I decided to try one last approach before telling our parents, which I really didn't want to do because I knew it would completely blow up our family. I reached out to our older cousin Dana, female, 24, who we both really look up to. She's always been like the voice of reason in our family, and both Courtney and I respect her a lot. I figured maybe Courtney would actually listen to Dana if she wouldn't listen to me. So we set up this meeting at Dana's apartment on a Sunday afternoon. I was honestly so nervous, I could barely eat anything that day. When Courtney showed up, she seemed really calm. Dana started by saying she loved both of us and just wanted to help us work through whatever was going on. Then she asked me to explain the situation. I tried to stay super calm and just laid out everything that had happened. I showed Dana the screenshots of all the fake messages and explained how we caught Courtney using Caleb's phone. Dana looked shocked. I don't think she really believed it was that serious until she saw the evidence. At first, Courtney actually seemed remorseful. She was wiping away tears and looking down at the floor. Dana asked her to explain her side of things, and Courtney admitted to sending the messages, but claimed she was just testing Caleb to see if he would be faithful to me, which makes absolutely no sense because the messages were making it seem like I wanted to break up with him. I asked her if she understood how violating and hurtful her actions were, and that's when she changed. She started saying stuff like I've always had everything handed to me, while she struggles for attention. She said our parents always favored me and that I was the perfect daughter, while she was always getting compared to me. Dana tried to steer the conversation back to the actual issue, the fake messages, but Courtney wouldn't stop talking about our entire childhood. When I asked if she would promise to stop all contact with Caleb, she flat out refused. She said they had a real connection and that he deserved someone more exciting than me. Dana tried explaining to her about respecting relationship boundaries. That's when Courtney just got angry. She accused us of attacking her and stormed out, slamming Dana's door so hard a picture fell off the wall. After she left, Dana said she didn't realize things were this bad. She admitted she'd been kind of skeptical when I first called her, thinking maybe I was exaggerating. But after seeing Courtney's behavior firsthand, Dana agreed that something was wrong. The worst part was when Dana told me Courtney had apparently been telling other family members that I was mentally unstable and making up stories about her. Like, she was trying to discredit me before I could even tell anyone what was happening. I knew I had to tell my parents, but I was still really conflicted about it. I actually called my therapist first and asked if I was doing the right thing. She reminded me that I'd tried literally everything else at this point, and that Courtney's behavior was genuinely concerning. So the next Saturday morning, I video called my parents when I knew they'd both be home. As soon as my mom saw my face, she was like, "What's wrong?" I told them I needed to discuss something serious about Courtney. I tried to explain everything as calmly and clearly as possible. I showed them all the screenshots and evidence, including the texts Dana had sent me confirming what happened at her apartment. My mom kept getting upset. My dad just sat there quietly. When I finished explaining, my mom immediately asked if I'd tried talking to Courtney directly. I had to explain that yes, I'd confronted her multiple times, offered to help her get counseling, and even had Dana try to mediate. Nothing worked. My dad asked why I didn't come to them sooner, and honestly, I got upset. I told them I was trying to protect Courtney despite everything because I knew how serious the consequences might be, and I still loved her, even though she was acting terribly. My mom started crying, saying she was devastated by Courtney's behavior and didn't understand where this was coming from. My dad said this was very concerning. They thanked me for finally telling them and promised they would handle it. They called Courtney home for what she thought was just a regular family dinner, but instead, they confronted her with everything they knew. I wasn't there, but my mom called me right after to tell me what happened. Apparently, Courtney initially denied everything, then tried to minimize her actions when they showed her the evidence. And finally, she broke down sobbing, basically blaming me for always being the perfect daughter, which made her feel like she could never measure up. My parents made a decision. They would continue paying Courtney's tuition directly to the university, but immediately cut off her housing allowance, car privileges, and living expenses. They told her she needed to learn about responsibility, respect, and boundaries. Dad even took back the credit card he had given her for emergencies that she'd been using for shopping and eating out. With no housing allowance and barely any savings because she spent most of her money on clothes and going out, she couldn't afford to keep her dorm room. She ended up having to move into her friend Alicia's parents' basement as a temporary solution. And she had to get a part-time job at this campus coffee shop to pay Alicia's parents some rent. And of course, she blames me for all of this. She's been sending me these horrible texts saying I ruined her life and finally got what I wanted by turning everyone against her. Like, that was never what I wanted. I just wanted her to stop trying to steal my boyfriend and impersonating me. I finally blocked her number last week because I just can't deal with the constant accusations. I need some space to process everything that's happened. On a slightly more positive note, Caleb and I are doing okay. This whole situation definitely created some trust issues, even though none of this was his fault, but we're working through it together. He feels really guilty for not realizing sooner what was happening, even though I keep telling him there's no way he could have known. We've actually started this new thing where we have phone-free dates. We both leave our phones at home and just focus completely on each other. It's been really nice to have that space where we don't have to worry about Courtney or any of this mess. I still have such complicated feelings about everything. Like, I know Courtney needed to face consequences for what she did, but sometimes I wonder if my parents went too far. Should I try to convince them to give her more support while still maintaining boundaries? Or does she really need to learn this hard lesson? Part of me feels guilty seeing her struggle, but another part of me is still so hurt and angry about what she did, and the fact that she's still blaming me instead of taking responsibility makes it hard to feel sympathetic. I don't know, did I do the right thing by telling my parents, or did I go too far? Edit. Some people are asking if Courtney has apologized at all. No, she hasn't. Not even once. Every communication from her has been blaming me or acting like she's the victim in all this. To those saying my parents' punishment was too harsh, maybe it seems that way, but they're still paying her tuition, which is thousands of dollars. They just stopped giving her spending money and housing allowance, which honestly, most college students don't get anyway. A lot of you are suggesting family therapy, and I actually brought that up with my mom yesterday. She thinks it's a good idea, but says Courtney would need to be willing to participate and take it seriously. Right now, she's still in the everyone else is wrong mindset. Since some people asked, yes, Ben from my marketing class knows nothing about any of this. I've kept our interactions completely normal and professional because he has no idea he was even mentioned in any of this mess.